Good evening and welcome to our final edition of BC Poly Live ahead of Monday night's federal election. For the last month, every Wednesday, we've been discussing the election, and tonight it's the big series finale, if you want to call it that, the last chance for our panel to weigh in, debate, get whatever it is that's been eating at them this campaign off their chest. You know Rob Shaw, he's with me in studio, and in Vancouver, as always, we have Katie Merrifield, the Vice President of Wellington Advocacy, and Mo Amir, the host of the podcast. This is Van Color. Great to see everyone. Since this is our last show, let's put a bow on everything we've been discussing with some finish line questions. And Rob, we'll start with you. When you look back on the last 32 days, who, in your opinion, ran the best campaign?
Joe, it's tough because usually the best campaign wins. And in this case, a kind of arrogant and uninspired Liberal campaign could still win a minority with the support of the NDP, still govern. That's not the majority they wanted. But as Mo said last week, a garbage win is still a garbage win. I've now said that. That's now my line going forward, and no one can use it. I think the NDP had some of the best advertising as a wealthy Trudeau, out of touch, trying to govern for, say whatever it takes to win and then not follow up on it. I think the Conservatives had the best kind of day-to-day flexible campaigning, not getting caught up in those wedge issues. And I think the Greens had the best debate performance, but it doesn't matter because they weren't really running a national campaign, but maybe it freed up people to vote Green and still not be kind of embarrassed by what's going on there. So not a clear winner, but not a clear campaign, I don't think either, Joe.
We will give Mo a chance to steal that line back. It's early in the show. Katie, though, before we bring in Mo, who's your MVP this campaign? The P, in this case, stands for party.
Look, ultimately we'll know on Monday who made the best pitch to voters, but for me, my gold star goes to the Conservatives. They started this campaign 10 points back. O'Toole was an unknown, and most people were just ready to write them off and usher in a Liberal majority government. And for a number of reasons, that seems unlikely to happen. You know, the Conservatives did make one mistake. You know, they were put on their heels for about 5 days over course correcting on their gun policy. But other than that, I think they ran a pretty fantastic campaign. Erin O'Toole has presented himself as a really thoughtful moderate with broad appeal. He's calm, compassionate, and ready to lead. He didn't blink on social conservative issues that have plagued the party in the past, and there were a few moments that stood out to me. His level-headed performance during the debate, his really heartfelt message to Canadians on Afghanistan. So, you know, we'll have to see. We'll see if the Conservatives' appeal to the centre works as a strategy, but I really think that Erin O'Toole and his team have a lot to be proud of.
All right, and Mo, if you had to crown a campaign winner, who are you going with?
Have you ever looked down at your ballot and thought to yourself, is this it? Are these my choices? We have one party that is she-cycling old campaign promises that they could have been fulfilling in government, but they chose to call this election instead. You have another party where the bar is set so low that the idea that their leader didn't say anything offensive is a win. Apparently that's being a moderate. You have one party that's not even interested in governing Canada. You have one party that's literally imploding. You have one party that merges the worst of a Kid Rock concert with naturopathy, if naturopathy were a horse dewormer. And then you have the NDP. Now, spoiler alert, Rob Shaw is going to predict that the NDP are going to double their seat count. And if he is correct, which he is prone to be, I think the NDP ran the best campaign. They were honest, they were authentic, they were able to move the Overton window to a very progressive place, and honestly, they ran the only campaign that didn't gross me out.
We will get to final seat count predictions. I love that Mo always answers questions in the form of a question. That has been a great takeaway from the last 4 Wednesdays. All right, Katie, let's go the other way with this and talk losers. Who had the biggest mistake or the biggest blunder this campaign? Or better yet, who do you think will walk away with the biggest regret?
Look, I think all the campaigns made mistakes, as happens during an election. I think for the Liberals, failing to articulate a believable rationale as to why we are having this election probably cost them their majority. Like, I don't know what this election is about. It's not about COVID. It's not about climate change. Who knows? Also, their timing. calling the election on the day that Kabul fell to the Taliban, not great. I think if they had called this election several weeks prior, we'd be having a very different discussion today. Other parties, though, aren't immune to mistakes either. I've already talked about the Conservatives having to amend their platform with regards to their gun policy. The NDP, they're currently polling between 16 and 19%. This is not impressive. So I wonder if they don't pick up more seats than they had significantly, how long is Jagmeet Singh going to remain as leader? And I actually think losing him would be too bad. I quite like him. I like his style, I like his presence, and I like his contribution to our political discourse. But I'm going to hand the biggest mistake to the federal Greens. They have an amazing leader who dominated the debate and could really be a powerful force in Canadian politics. And instead, their neophyte, infantile, moronic executive just played sandbox politics instead of giving Annamie Paul the respect, the platform, and the resources that she deserved.
Mo, biggest mistake over the last 32 days?
Joe, 2 weeks ago, I called this election Prime Minister Trudeau's personal milk crate challenge. Now, when people do the milk crate challenge, the biggest mistake that they make is not weight distribution, it's not footing, it's not the shoes that they're wearing. The biggest mistake that people make when they do the milk crate challenge is they set up this pyramid of milk crates, they take a look at it, and they think to themselves, this is a good idea. Now, Prime Minister Trudeau has basically boxed himself into a corner where the only safe outcome for his political survival is a majority government. If the Liberals get a minority government, and if they get a minority government with less seats, I think a lot of people internally within the Liberals are going to look at Trudeau and wonder if he's the guy to take him to the next election. And obviously, if the Liberals lose, Trudeau just threw away 2 years potentially of governance and probably made the biggest miscalculation in Canadian history.
All right, we will look ahead to the next 5 days because there is still time left. But Rob, biggest blunder?
Well, I mean, I agree with Katie and Mo, but I'll add some candidates into the mix here. The two New Democrat candidates that had to resign today for anti-Semitic comments. That's bad on the New Democrats. The Liberal candidate for Vancouver-Granville, who turns out to be the most prolific property flipper that undermines the entire Liberal housing affordability strategy, exemplifies what they're trying to get rid of, but he's running under the Liberal banner, was bad. The Liberal candidate from Kitchener that the party supported despite sexual harassment allegations to the point where it looked like Justin Trudeau wasn't believing the victims was bad. And then the Conservatives on gun control, I think, despite their pivot, they allowed themselves to get hit with the hidden agenda argument, the idea they were in the pocket of the big gun lobby, that the Canadian version of the NRA, they're hiding something. If you elect them, they're going to pop out and do something really weird and crazy. They didn't quite shake that off. So there were some kind of, not quite blunders, but little moments of negativity on the campaign.
Well, the good news is, as I mentioned, there's still time, 5 more days, not a lot of time. But Mo, what do the parties need to do in the final stretch here?
It's almost over. I can't wait. But in terms of what the parties have to do in these last final days, it's really a culmination of everything they've done up until this campaign. So nationally, the party leaders and the parties themselves will really be hammering home the key messages. They're basically making a final closing argument to voters. So no new ideas. They don't want to confuse anyone. And then on the ground locally, it's all about GOTV, get out the vote. Any good campaign at this point locally within the ridings would have identified their voters or possible voters. So that's members, party members, that's supporters, that's undecided voters that are kind of warm to the party. And that base is going to be flooded with reminders to go vote. We're talking about leaflets and emails and phone calls and texts. And texts are super important because everyone's on their phone texting. And I think the NDP actually have a really interesting strategy where they're asking people to text 3 friends to remind them to vote. Pre-COVID, a lot of ridings would actually organize driving schedules to take people to polls who otherwise couldn't make it or were unable to, or it's inconvenient. I still think we're going to see that even during COVID. But at the end of the day, this is about scrambling and hustling to get every vote possible to have your best possible showing.
Katie, can a party still win a few votes in the final days?
Well, building off what Mo said, like winning hearts and minds truly is over at this point. It's all about who out-hustles the other. Most aggregate polls still have the Conservatives and the Liberals in a fairly dead heat, so it truly is going to come down to who can outmuscle and outman the opponent. This is the time in the campaign also where resources are reallocated. So just to give like a bit of an insider view, campaign HQ is typically dispersed to swing ridings. There's just a few folks who stay at the central campaign. They're usually communications, legal, administrative folks, and everyone else is sent out on the ground. Also, ridings are reallocated. So if you're a candidate and you get a call that your team is being shifted to another riding, congratulations, that means you are losing this election. And just, to agree with Mo, no one is throwing down any new ideas at this point. It is absolutely find your people and get them to the polls.
All right, last word goes to you, Rob.
Well, there's two things that happen here that the parties can't control. Both involve one part of your body, which I'm not going to make you try to think of that part. It is your nose, actually, where you've got a sniff test and you've got holding your nose on the final days. In the ballot box, when you get that stubby little pencil and you're going to make your vote, you are either going to get a sniff test of the Harper government and just back away from the Conservatives at the last minute. The party can't control that. Or you're going to go in there and hold your nose for the Liberals despite being disappointed with the Prime Minister, despite not seeing him as the version of the leader that you want, but he's still just good enough. His heart's in the right place, still the best choice for the country. Both of those, the parties don't see coming. They can't calculate for. It's that kind of, that little tiny bit in the ballot box, and you get that pencil in your hand. Your nose, Joe. It was your nose.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where you were going with that. I'm glad.
We're on a delay, right? So you could have cut me out.
I'm glad you gave us the answer. Okay. Yeah, all right. When we come back, we got to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk final predictions. How will this all shake out? We've asked our panel to predict the final seat count come Monday night. Will the Greens get more than one seat? Will the PPC get a seat? At least one panelist says yes. That's all coming up when we come back.
Locally owned and operated, Postings Denture Clinics provides all your denture services. Our in-house lab means you can expect a quick turnaround. Postings Denture Clinics, the smile you deserve. Book your free consultation in Victoria or Sydney today.
Barclays Fine Jewellers. Experience jewellery the Barclays way.
People ask, what is the good life? It's eating well, staying active in a social community. The good life is the Vista, opening soon in Victoria. Tailored to the individual looking for a carefree lifestyle to age in place with a continuum of care. The Vista is selling condos today, an opportunity to own and preserve your capital. Visit the sales center on Esquimalt Road and get a glimpse of your future. Find out more at liveatvista.ca and get a start on your good life.
Just south of Duncan, look for the Rooster. It's the original Old Farm Market, the home of local produce, but there's a whole lot more. Take the time for a frosty treat, or taste some of the best baked goods in the valley. Drop in and see what grows on you. It just might be a monumental experience. Every trip on Vancouver Island should include a stop right here. The Old Farm Market in Duncan and Oak Bay. Just look for the Rooster.
Let me guess, you went with the spicy McNuggets.
I'm just taking a spicy detour.
Well, I'm sticking to the classic. Don't mess with perfection.
Well, what if the spice makes perfection more perfect? What if you love him and you just don't know it?
Well, I better try one, before they're gone.
Ah.
Welcome back to BC Poly Live. Rob Shaw, Katie Merrifield, and Mo Amir with me. Everything we've discussed all boils down to this moment. It is crystal ball time. I want each of you to give us your final prediction. Will we get a majority Monday night, another minority government? Who will walk away with the most seats? Katie, we're going to start with you. Give us your prediction.
So I want to start by saying that there is a strong argument that's put forth by highly, highly intelligent people like Jerry Butts, who say that the outcome of this election is going to be 5 seats on either side of the status quo. And I do believe that is a strong possibility. but I wanted to have a little bit more fun with my prediction. And before I give that, I do want to throw some massive shade to my fellow pundits here who both are completely overstating the NDP's growth potential, but you'll hear from them shortly. With regards to my prediction, so Liberals currently at 155 seats. I predict they lose 20, a bit of a mix, lost seats to the Bloc Conservatives and the NDP. The the Conservatives currently have 119. I think they pick up 11 across the country. The NDP currently at 24, pick up 7, largely in British Columbia. And, you know, regardless of your opinion on the Bill 21 question during the English debate, the outcome has seen a bit of a surge in Quebec for the Bloc. And so I predict they pick up about 8 seats due to this little nationalist bump. And so what does this mean? What this means is that the Liberals will end up with the most seats on election night, and they will have the opportunity to govern. But the Liberal seats combined with the NDP will not have a majority on key votes. However, the Conservatives and the Bloc will. So my prediction is that in due course, the Conservatives are going to form government with the Bloc propping them up.
Okay, did not see that coming. Thank you, Katie. All right, Mo, your turn. What's going to happen Monday?
Wow. Yeah, so really broad strokes here. I think the Liberals are going to form a smaller minority than they currently possess. I think they're going to lose 10 to 15 seats. I think the NDP will regain a lot of the losses that they had in 2019, probably going back up to those 2015 levels, around 40 seats. And by the way, that includes my 3 predictions on this program: Jim Hansen, Anjali Appadure, and Benita Zarello. I think the Greens are going to get absolutely decimated, and I think the tragic irony here is that the one seat they will keep will be the former leaders, Elizabeth Mays, who allegedly has kind of derailed Annamie Paul's ascension as being the new leader of the Greens. Now, the one bold prediction that I do make, and that you alluded to before the commercial break, is that I think Mad Max Bernier is going to win his seat in Beauce, Quebec. He's been an MP there before. There seems to be a lot of energy around his campaign. I think they're throwing resources at it, and I think he's doing pretty well in the polls. And just saying that, I feel like I have to take a shower.
Mo, I've heard Mo Sr., your father, is quite opinionated and has become a bit of a recurring character on your podcast. Have you run this prediction by him? What does he have to say about all this?
Oh, he thinks it's nonsense. Mo Sr., my dad, Mo Sr., famous on Facebook, by the way. His prediction is that it will be a huge conservative victory. And when that happens, or if that happens, he's going to be yelling at me through his TV right here on Check News, because we're all going to be together on election night. And in fact, he'll probably be yelling at all of us except for Katie. He's a big fan of Katie Merrifield.
We might have to get a camera in his living room. He sounds amazing. All right, Rob, 2 Liberal minority predictions. Are you going to break away from the pack here?
No, I'm not. Also a Liberal minority. Might as well go straight to the board here so I can justify it. You're going to ask what crazy West Coast Nanaimo bar I'm smoking, but I suggest that the New Democrats could double their seat count here. Look, the Liberals take a bit of a loss, but still, 20 seats or so. But the New Democrats, I'm saying here, could be a protest vote. If you are upset at the Liberals, you're thinking you don't want to cause them to lose a government, you can't support the Conservatives, but you can put your vote behind a party that's not going to win. Maybe the New Democrats pick up some seats, including in Nanaimo, Ladysmith, which I'm just sort of predicting on the fly here that the Greens might not be able to hold. They keep Elizabeth May's seat. And that's the kind of look that I have at it. To be honest with you, that's very optimistic for the New Democrats. They may go more in the line of somewhere between Katie and Mo, but it wouldn't be fun if we all picked the same ridings, Joe, on election night. So there you go.
All right, your picks are all locked in. Nanaimo bars on Rob, to the person who comes closest to calling this thing.
All right.
Thank you to the panel for the last 4 weeks. It's been a lot of fun. And yes, viewers, all 3 of them will be back with us. Stacey Ross will be here as well, 8 p.m. on Monday for our election coverage. So you'll see everyone back together. We're going to have a fun couple of hours come Monday night. Thank you to the panel. We'll take a break, though. A lot more when we come back.
This week, we are going to focus on the way voters in Canada and British Columbia are feeling about 2 of the biggest issues in the federal election. Canadians are decidedly split when it comes to who would be the best leader to handle housing, with Jagmeet Singh holding a small lead over Justin Trudeau and Erin O'Toole. The situation changes drastically in BC, where Jagmeet Singh is a choice of more than 1/3 of residents. Erin O'Toole is in 2nd place, with Justin Trudeau in a distant 3rd place. When it comes to the environment, more than a quarter of Canadians choose Justin Trudeau as the best leader to handle this file. O'Toole is second, followed by Jagmeet Singh and Annamie Paul. In past campaigns, this was an indicator where former Green Party leader Elizabeth May used to be in first or second place. While Trudeau is seen as the best manager of the environment at the national level, his numbers drop dramatically in BC, where he is in third place, behind Singh and O'Toole, and slightly ahead of Paul. The last days of the campaign will bring an opportunity for the federal leaders to establish an emotional connection with voters. In the elections of 2011 and 2015, the vote swings observed on the final weekend were crucial to determine the size of the incoming majority mandates. This time around, the votes in British Columbia may end up signaling the color of the next federal government. For BC Poly Live, I'm Mario Canseco from ResearchGo.
Bring your appetite. It's the Hungry Hearts Gala in support of Our Place. This annual culinary competition is back for the 8th year. Dine at participating restaurants, shop the best of the region with an online auction, and support the important work of Our Place Society. Then watch the gala broadcast Saturday, September 18th at 6 on Check. Brought to you by PricewaterhouseCoopers and Knappett Projects. The 8th annual Hungry Hearts Gala in support of Our Place on Check. Mike Check, the Island Podcast with a little less news, a little more life.
The air was so electric right away.
Can't believe I'm saying this.
People really see the value that the Victoria Police Department bring.
Do you know Howard the Gnome?
And this is the question on many people's mind.
Pre-1983, everything was done by hand.
That encouragement and inspiration to keep inventing.
Mike Check is brought to you by Budget Blinds Victoria. Style and service for any budget. Watch on Check or listen on checknews.ca.
Alberni Power and Marine, Vancouver Island's premier boat dealership, is the largest Mercury dealership in Canada. #1 in BC for repowering boats. Award-winning service team. Alberni Power and Marine, dependable quality you can count on.
Even cool cars aren't immune from man or even no worry. That's where Prancing Horse Auto Body comes in. Our sole goal is to get your vehicle back to its original, or even better, pre-accident condition. Prancing Horse Auto Body offers affordable expertise. That means whatever the make or model, foreign or domestic, we'll have the cure. Prancing Horse Auto Body, Victoria's premier collision repair shop.
I'm Wade Roberts with Wade Roberts Plumbing. We do tankless water heater installations. Anything to do with plumbing or gas, you're going to get a real human being on the phone. 24 hours a day. Our staff are amazing. We've got an awesome team of people that genuinely care. We take extra time to look over things, and we offer proactive solutions to them. We offer upfront pricing as well, because they know what they're going to pay before we even start the job. Visit our website at waderobertsplumbing.com.
At Kia Victoria, we do things differently. We're a locally owned family business. We don't have a head office somewhere else. So every dollar spent here stays local. We believe in finding you the right vehicle and doing it in the right way. No pressure, no tricks. We also believe in giving back.
I'd like to extend a huge thank you to the team at Kia Victoria.
Supporting local.
So if you want to find the right vehicle the right way, Kia Victoria is right here on Government at Hillside.
Baby's skin is absorbent. Her skin can actually soak up wetness her diaper doesn't.
That's why Pampers has lock-away channels that lock wetness away to help keep baby's skin dry and healthy. Pampers, most recommended brand by Canadian pediatricians.
Okay, the only reason we're having this early election is because Justin Trudeau thought he could turn a minority government into a majority. After all, it worked for John Horgan and the BC NDP when they did the same thing last year. People were ticked off at Horgan for calling a snap election, but not so ticked off that it stopped them from voting for him. But that's not what's happening with Trudeau. Never mind a majority, right now he'll just be happy to hang on to his job. So why the difference? Maybe it's because all those starry-eyed voters who Trudeau seduced in 2015 are feeling a bit duped. Turns out that Prince Charming snores and leaves the toilet seat up and buys pipelines and fails to deliver on free pharmacare. So, sorry Justin, you didn't live up to expectations, you're out. Okay, so what about Aaron O'Toole? Well, he might have a dead sexy haircut, but he's not perfect either. He's too conservative for Liberals and too much of a big government Liberal for a lot of Conservatives. Look at his climate plan. It has a deal where the government, instead of offering carbon tax rebates, would set up a whole bureaucracy to track how much gas you individually put in your car. Then it would let you have your money back, but only if you spent it on things the government approves of. Can you imagine what the Conservatives would say if it were Trudeau dictating how you spent your tax rebate? Obviously, can't vote for O'Toole. Okay, Jagmeet Singh? He's like a teenager who's super passionate about the cool places he wants to go, but when you check out how he plans to get there, there are a lot of empty spaces on the roadmap. Never mind that the cost of this trip is $200 billion, which he assures us would be paid for mostly by the super rich, who we're totally sure would stick around to pay the bill. So he's not Mr. Right either. I saw a tweet last week that said electing a government shouldn't be like looking for the perfect love match. Instead, think of it as catching a bus. If you can't find a bus that takes you right to the front door of your destination, you don't say, "Oh, I'm not going to travel." No, you catch the bus that gets you closest to where you want to go. Well, that's the election. No leader, no party, no platform is going to take you right to the front door. You still have to catch a bus.
Thank you, Jack Knox, for his contributions over the last 4 weeks. All right, we have more local election coverage coming your way on Check. Up next, a conversation with some of the candidates in the riding of Cowichan, Malahat, Langford. Rob, set up this riding for us.
Yeah, New Democrat Alistair McGregor is going for a third term here in a riding that New Democrats think is pretty safe for them, but we will see. It starts in Chemainus, goes all the way down to Langford. So it has interesting kind of downtown Langford growth issues, but rural issues on the Malahat all the way up to Chemainus. The Liberal and Conservative candidates are running for the second time, so voters are somewhat familiar with them. This is the hometown of Green leader Sonia Furstenau provincially, so some members of this riding are comfortable going Green as well. So you keep all of that in mind, but I think the New Democrats aren't paying a lot of attention to this on election night because to them it looks safe.
All right, thank you, Rob. We have done 5 riding profiles on Vancouver Island. All of them are available on the Mike Check podcast, or you can download the Check Plus free streaming app and watch the vodcasts anytime you like for free. That's it from all of us, and that's it for BC Poly Live. Thank you for joining along over the last 4 weeks. Monday night, 8 p.m., full island election coverage from all of us. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
There are questions about the